Let's talk about religions and festivals. Religions, one of the more confusing parts of the culture, but necessary for festivals, one of the most fun parts of the culture. So that's why we've paired them together today. Alright, let's get started. Shinto is maybe a more common word in America than Japan. If you ask many Japanese people, what is Shinto, or sometimes pronounced Shindo, many people are a little confused. They don't use that word so much here, but the process is still important in the culture. So in the West you can find these books like Shinto, the Kami Way, and you can read statistics that say 90% of the population is Shinto. It's hard to get a real good definition of how many people and how strongly they believe in this native religion of Japan. But anyway, a basic overview is it's full of many spirits or small gods called kami. And the kami can intervene and protect us and help us. After we die, we can also become kami. And the kami exist in many forms of nature and animals and so on. We can probably say Shinto is the public face of the religion. So you go to a shrine, which is for Shinto, and you can get a good luck charm at the beginning of the year, and then you might have a Shinto priest come to sort of bless the ground where you're going to start a new company. Also, the origin stories of Japan are based on Shinto stories involving characters like Amaterasu. So yeah, if you see a big torii gate, this is for Shinto. And these are called shrines. These fabulous red gates which you've seen in pictures. And if you have walked around Japan at all, you have probably seen a small Shinto shrine. And you can tell it's Shinto because of the torii gates. And there are tens of thousands of these all over the country dedicated to one kami or another. Now, if you want to talk about Buddhism, this came introduced from the mainland Asia, originally from India, into China, and maybe through Korea and so on. Anyway, that was about the 500s. In Japan, it broke into many different sects, and I don't know how to tell you about those, but there's quite a few of them, and Japanese-style Buddhism by now is largely distinct from Chinese-style Buddhism. But for the first 400 years or so, the Japanese Buddhism mostly copied Chinese. We could say Buddhism is more of the private face of religion. Inside many Japanese houses is a Butsudan shrine to honor the dead of the family, and this often keeps some relics or a name that they have received after they die. And this name comes from the Buddhist side of things, and it can end up being a very long and traditional name with lots of meaning. The buildings of Buddhism are called temples or taira. So if you see a great Buddha statue, yes, this is not Shinto, this is Buddhism. A lot of famous pagodas in Buddhist temples. Although, now that I think about it, there's plenty of pagodas in Shinto shrines as well. But one of the most famous pagodas is from Kiyomizu Dera, or Kiyomizu Temple in Kyoto. Beautiful Buddhist temple. By the way, if you hear something with the last word of ji, for example, Ryoanji is a famous Buddhist temple. Ji is another way to say Tera. Same thing, it means temple. So these are the two traditional religions in Japan. But because of Japanese history of the last 100 years, there has been a lot of up and down with religious feeling. And since World War II, new religions have really had the chance to spring up. Maybe the best known are Happy Science and Soka Gakkai. Soka Gakkai has actually become fairly international. In fact, famous Hollywood celebrities have become members. The most famous one who I know of is Orlando Bloom, who was in the Lord of the Rings movies. But it's also released the chance for cults to spring up, like the Om Shinrikyo, which was a dangerous cult that enacted the worst terrorist attack in recent Japanese memory. It was a sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subways. So minor religions or cults are sometimes viewed with suspicion in contemporary Japan, although that is also a historical trend. So I said new religions have sprung up. Christianity is not new in Japan at all. It came in the 1500s via Portugal. But there's a new spirit of Christianity, and more people seem to be joining since World War II. So here's a quiz for you. What are the two most important times of year in Japan? Think about it for a minute. Okay? Well, I asked my Japanese friends, and also I kind of knew this anyway. The two most important times are Obon in August or July, depending on where you are. And this is a Buddhist ceremony. And then New Year's, which is, January 1st, December 31st. And this is more of a Shinto tradition. So at Obon, you will often see Japanese families going to a temple, and it's a little bit of a quiet time. As I said, Buddhism is more of a private affair, and this is going to pay respects to your ancestors. In the New Year's, this is when Japanese look ahead and look for something good that's going to happen in the new year. And this is more of a public event across the country, in shrines all over. Even in cold, cold Hokkaido, Japanese families will line up at 11 p.m. and wait for the new year to come in, and then they will pray at the Shinto shrines at 12 a.m. January 1st. Another way to think about the two religions coexisting is Buddhism looks back to the past to respect those who have given us our life to this point. Shinto tends to look to the future and give a sense of excitement and hope for what might come. So thinking that way, a lot of the famous festivals, or the really fun parts of the country, are influenced by Shinto. So we have the Nebuta Matsuri. Matsuri means festival. In Aomori, this is one of the most famous because of the great floats that they have. The Tenjin Matsuri in Osaka. And I suppose many Japanese will tell you the biggest, most spectacular, famous Matsuri in the country is Gion Matsuri in Kyoto, which lasts almost a month. It's incredible. Now, I should say too, though, the Obon is not just a serious time. There are great festivals during Obon period, including the Bon Odori dance, which something like this. I think I can do it even though I can't dance, because basically you just move back and forth like that. And kids can do it, old people can do it, so that means I can do it too. And these can take place in just a local park, because the site of a temple generally is not a place for a celebration. So an Obon-inspired Matsuri is probably going to be in a public place. Now, I'm in Sapporo, so I want to tell you about the best ones in Sapporo. Sapporo's a pretty new city, so I guess there is not a lot of religious feeling behind these festivals, the Snow Festival being the most famous. In fact, I'm kind of happy about the Snow Festival being inspired by the self-defense force. It's one sign of Japan being a peaceful country, I think, that the self-defense forces are called on to make these great snow statues every February. Yosakoi has recently become a really big Sapporo event, although there are Yosakoi dance festivals in other cities as well. But the Sapporo one attracts tens of thousands of people, including from locations all around Southeast and East Asia. And then the Hokkaido Shrine Festival, again inspired by Shinto, in June is quite famous and popular with locals. Locals in Sapporo actually hate the Snow Festival, and they hate Yosakoi because it really interrupts traffic and subway times and train times and so on in the downtown. Okay, that's about it for today. But if you are in Sapporo, I want you to look up this list and look for one or two festivals which you really want to go to, or you have gone to, and tell us about it. Why did you go, or why do you want to go? And what are you looking forward to the most? Okay, see you next time.